Alright, time for the solutions for the exponential versus linear graphs. So what you need to do on each of these is the exponential one is the f function, the f of x function, and the other one is the g function. So you need to know that in order to answer the rest of these questions, but you need to first say where they are equal, where the exponential is greater than the linear, and where the exponential is less than the linear. And that's speaking strictly in function values. So if you do a vertical line somewhere, notice how the exponential one is above the linear one there. So f of x would be greater than g of x right there. For that specific x value, and that one, and that one, and that one, all the ones over here, until you reach this point where they intersect. And where they intersect, right here and right here, is actually where they're equal to each other. So you can write down those x values, where x equals 0, that is this one. And the next one, it's where x equals 3, which is right there. And the next part is where is the exponential one greater? Well, we already said it was greater over here, and that's where x is less than 0, as in 0 is here, everywhere to the left of that. And then the next one, you have right here in the middle, the g of x, the straight line, is greater than the f of x, so that's where x is between 0 and 3, from here to here. Sideways from where 0 to 3. And then the last part, it's over here on the right side, the exponential one's up above. So that's where x is greater than 3 to the right of that vertical line there. So those are all the answers there. The next one, again, the g of x is the straight line, f of x is the curved one. Anyway, so these two intersect at these 2 points, which is x equals -5 and x equals -2. And if you notice, we use those numbers in all our answers here. We need to now figure out where the exponential is higher up than the linear. Well, if you look over here on the right side, here I'm going to split this into the 3 parts again. On the right side, notice how the curved one is up above, so that's where x is greater than 5. The exponential is up above. And also here on the left side, the curved one is higher up than the linear one, so that would be where x is less than, oh, sorry, that's not x greater than 5, that's x greater than -2. And the next one is where x is less than -5. So this way and this way, but not in the middle. This middle section, the line is higher up than the curve, and that's where x is between -5 and -2. And those are your answers for that one. Moving on to 3 and 4. The rest of these are, like, once you realize what's going on with these, it's pretty quick to figure out where one's higher than the other. This one, we have 2 important x values, being x equals -2 and x equals 1. And then the curved one is up above in the middle, so that's where x is between -2 and 1. And on the outside sections, that's where the line is greater, so that's where x is less than -2 and where x is greater than 1. Moving on to the next one, we got these 2 intersection points. That's where the 2 functions are equal, and that's where x is 1 and where x is 4. In the middle section, the curved one is up above, so f of x is greater than g of x in the middle, so where x is between 1 and 4. On the outsides, the linear one is up above the curved one, so the linear is greater, meaning the exponential is less than, so we have where x is greater than 4 and where x is less than 1. So there we go. There's our answers for those ones. We on 7 and 8. These are our 2 important points here. That's where x is -4 and where x is 3. And right here in the middle, the exponential is greater, so that'd be the section for b, where x is between -4 and where x is less than 3. To the outside, meaning where x is less than -4, and where x is greater than 3, is the section where the exponential, the curved one's down below the linear one. Moving on to 8, we have our two intersection points here. I'm going to add these lines. Those are the x values of x equals -4, again. And the other ones were x equals -1. You're only writing down the x values. Right here in the middle, that's where the line is up above the curve. And so that's going to be your answer for this one. Between -4 and -1, the line is up above the exponential. For part B, the exponential needs to be greater, which is here on the right side, and on the left, that's where x is less than -4, and where the x is greater than -1. So pretty much the outside of that middle section. Moving on to 9 and 10, similar situation, just like our previous ones. We have two x values where they intersect, and those x values are -4 and an x value of 0. Right here in the middle, the exponential is greater, so that's going to be our answer for B, the middle section, which is between -4 and 0. The outside sections, as in where x is less than -4 and where x is greater than 0, is where the line is up above the exponential. Moving on to 10, we have these two intersection points. Those x values are x equals 0 and x equals 3. Right here in the middle, the exponential is greater than the linear one. That's the answer to B then, from 0 until 3. To the outside, the linear function is greater, so that's where x is less than 0 and where x is greater than 3. Moving on to the next part, on these last ones, if you just copy over the line onto the other one, it turns into the same sort of problems we've been doing so far. So I'm just going to copy this line over here. And let's see, it's going to cross at 3, 4. It crosses at 2, 0, and at 1, -4. So this is my line. And now that I got it graphed, I know what my two intersection points are. And I can answer these questions. They're equal when x is 1 and when x is 3. And in the middle section here, you notice the line is up above the exponential, so that would be the answer to this section, where x is between 1 and 3. To the outside, the exponential is greater. So over here on the left side, it's greater. On the right side, the blue one's greater. So that's when x is less than 1, or when x is greater than 3. Moving on to the next two. If I copy this one over here, I can give a better feel for how things are going. Yeah, let me graph this real quick. So copy some of the points over. Really, you just need 2 to draw your graph, but I did 3. So there's my, oh, that last one was crappy. Alright, so there's my functions. They cross at these x values. And those are the x values of x equals -3 and x equals -1. In the middle section, the exponential function is up above, so that'll be the answer to part B here, where x is between -3 and -1. To the outside, meaning where x is less than -3, or when x is greater than -1, the linear function's up above, greater than the exponential function. Moving on to 13. I'm going to copy this line over. It starts here. And it's looking like a slope of -3/2. So go like that, like that. And we have enough points to graph the line. Draw that real quick. Okay. And we now have the intersection points, which is an x value of -3 and an x value of 3. Right here in the middle, the exponential is greater, so I need to put the middle interval for part B here. And to the outside, the linear is greater, so that's where x is less than -3 and x is greater than 3. Moving on to the next one, on 14, if you copy that graph over, let's see, we're going to have a point there, and we're going to have a point at 3, -4. And I think that's the only 2 points we really need to do right now. Let me draw my graph. So it's looking like they're crossing when x is 0 and when x is 3. So we're going to have x equals 0, x equals 3. And then right here in the middle, the linear function is greater. So we're going to have x between 0 and 3 for our inequalities for that answer. And then on these sections, the exponential is greater, meaning it's higher up. So that's where x is less than 0, or when x is greater than 3. Moving on to 15, 16, if we copy this line over, we're looking at a point here, and then a point over here, and that's enough points to draw your line. You just need 2. And that gives us our 2 intersection points, right there and there. That's when x is -3 and when x is 0. Right here in the middle, the linear function is greater. So in the middle, that's when f of x is less than g of x. So that's between -3 and 0. And to the outside, the exponential is greater. So that's when x is less than -3 and when x is greater than 0. Moving on to the next one. Let's see, we get some points here. Let's see, let me get a point at 2. Okay. There we go. Copy the line over. We have these 2 important x values of x being -1 and x being 2. Right here in the middle, the exponential is greater, so my middle interval is going to be the answer to part B here, from -1 to 2. And to the outside of that, meaning where x is less than -1, and when x is greater than 2, the linear function is greater, meaning that f of x is less than. And then we got our last 2 here. You just need to graph the lines, copy the lines over. I'm going to do that real quick. Alright, I got those copied over. So we have 2 important x values on both of these. The first one, we have x equals -3, and where x is -1, a little semicolon there. Right there in the middle, the linear function is greater, so my middle inequality thing is going to be here from -3 to -1. When you get less than -3, the blue is up higher, so that's where f of x is greater than g of x. And when x is greater than -1, over here on the right side, it's greater. Moving on to 18, our 2 important x values are still the same ones when x is -3 and when x is -1. Right here in the middle, the exponential function is greater, so that one's going to have your middle interval, middle inequality going. So -3 less than x less than -1. And when you go outside of that, as in when x is -3, less than -3, and x is greater than -1, the linear function is up above, meaning f of x is less than g of x. And that should be it.